Hello, everybody! Anime Reflux. David Cage
Oh,
is a hack.
Okay.
I mean,
Are we
we,
really
we
starting with that already?
I mean, yeah, okay. We'll get into that. But David Cage is a hack. We knew this, but it's nice to have repeated confirmation of people who can do things better than David Cage can because he's a hack. So
So, for anyone who's unaware, David Cage was, what was he involved? How was he involved with it?
he made a bunch of shitty games that have shitty storytelling, and he made a very shitty game called Detroit Become Human. Was that what it was?
Yes. You
Yeah.
may also know him from games such as Heavy Rain and that other game that we don't like to talk about.
Yeah. So he wrote a game that was about androids that would gain sentience, and then they
This is
would.
this is Detroit, by the way. Detroit Becoming Human.
Yes,
Or
it is.
Become Human.
Uh, and they would gain sentience, and then the whole rest of the game was a ham-fisted allegory for slavery and the civil rights movement. As in,
you can literally say "I have a dream" at one point. So
yep, and androids sitting at the back of the bus, and they are freed to Canada by a railroad run by a nice black lady that would very explicitly say, you know, my people were treated like less than human once too.
Okay, that's. Was he. You've got to tell me that he at least framed that as some kind of history lesson or something, right?
Not really.
No.
It's just like, hey, slavery's bad, you guys. Which
David
also,
Cage says that his game isn't like Blade Runner because the point in his game is to sympathize with the androids.
though, I want to point something out about that whole Black Lady line. The androids were less than human. They gained sentience like a month before the whole uprising thing happened, and it was an accident.
Mm-hmm.
So, by that logic, doesn't that line kind of say that David Cage thinks maybe we should move on before we say things that are actually very
So this
bad?
week we're watching Plastic Memories, and
Yeah, it's like if David Cage, which is why we bring him up, actually had an idea for what he could actually do with the whole Android concept. Like if he had a place to go with it instead of what he did.
so
So, in short, we're going off of a Blade Runner or do androids dream of electric sheep-esque plotline.
Yeah.
I've never seen Blade Runner. I've seen bits and pieces of it, but I've read Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, required reading in college. I'm not fond of dystopian novels to begin with, and well, I'm getting off track, but I didn't get to see all of this episode because of internet issues. I saw about half of it, and enough of what I saw, the comparisons to Blade Runner are, or, well, the plotline is just too similar, and it can't possibly end well.
so
There are bits of similarity, but I think Blade Runner was more of a
it was a more cyberpunk noir type of
yeah. It was like a crime story set to a cyberpunk backdrop, whereas this is more day to day. Okay, androids are a thing. How would this work?
yes.
And oh boy, do they go into how it works. Because I was watching it, and at the start I was like, okay, this kind of setup is really weak when it got to the main dude. But when it actually started explaining the details of the system for how androids work, why they have to be called back in, why they get called in the exact way that they do. It's all put together really well.
Mm-hmm. I had mentioned before that I'd heard about this. I had never actually watched or read this, but I had heard it recommended when it was first coming out. And so basic premise is main character is going to start his new job at this company. He comes highly recommended, and we get a brief scene in the beginning where he encounters an android in an elevator. They're called Giftia because that's marketable, and
In Japan, probably, yes.
in Japan, yeah. But he sees her looking at something, and then she turns, and he sees she's crying, and without ever knowing that she's like an android or anything, he's like, I think I actually might have fallen in love with her just on first sight here. And that, okay, that was a bit cliche, but
that was not a good opening for the show.
It was not a good opening.
No.
But as we go in, he finds his position to work is in the back at the terminal service organization or association.
Terminal service department. It's part of the company.
Department.
It's just very small.
Yeah, department. Okay. And they were not prepared for him, and he got like no training and was thrown into this job, so that kind of sucks.
From the way it's set up, it seems like there's a bit of nepotism involved. Like
possibly.
A bit of what?
Nepotism.
I haven't heard that word before.
He got the job because Daddy gave it to him, or something similar.
Oh. You'd think they'd be a little more careful when dealing with something like this. Says the person who... Let's not get into politics. Where were we?
He seemed... Well, I don't think it's necessarily nepotism. He seems actually fairly competent when he's given information to kind of...
There's nothing that says people that have the benefit of nepotism aren't competent. It just says, hey, this guy showed up for work one day. No one really wanted him there, but he's there, and he doesn't actually know what the job is or what he's supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
Like, okay. Sure, that's how getting jobs works.
Well, no one seems to care about this department, so...
Yeah, it seems like it gets kind of shafted from the description of, like, yeah, no, we keep getting cut. So the whole purpose of this department is they pair up people and androids to go out and retrieve androids who have reached the end of their shelf life, which is 9.5 years.
9 years, 4 months, I think it was, exactly.
Yeah. And once it goes past that, the memories and personality of the android begins to basically disintegrate and turn into nothing.
Yeah.
And that can cause a lot of problems.
Yeah, it's like, in the run-up to that point, they get a little bit squiffy, but it's, manageable. But after that, it really starts going downhill, so they need to be brought back in.
Mm-hmm. So... Yeah, the service is, we have to go to them. The owners have to be with us when we're doing this because there's personal information stored on each of these androids. So they have to stay with us to the end. They have to sign off on this. And there's a brief mention of, 30%.
That detail is perfect.
Yeah.
That, for something like that, where you say, okay... This show is about people that get attached to their androids because that's basically the point of them, is for them to be a companion kind of thing. So having them be there and having them have to be present for it, you could just hand-wave it as, it's just bureaucracy, you've got to make them do it this way. But they put some thought into it and gave a legitimate reason for why it has to happen that way, and it makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I really like that detail because it's, hey, guess what? If they're not there, they don't have a guarantee that their personal information has not been stolen or is going to be used.
So you can't just kidnap their android.
Yeah.
Or they can sue your company.
It has to be consensual. Though in one case later on, we see somebody try to run away with their android.
Still to sign it off when he got caught.
Still have to sign it off. But so our main character is going to be a spotter for his partner, who is a more experienced android named I think it's Isla or Isla.
It's Isla.
Isla, yeah, that's what I thought. So Isla, who was the android he saw before and was the partner of the current head of the department. And so they're going out with, he's going to be trained underneath the tsundere.
Yeah, I was going to say, yeah. She was 16 when she started at this department, by the way. Japan, I know you like having your teenage characters getting to hijinks and shit, but come on. Like, really?
She was probably an intern.
Sure. Let's go with that.
But
I don't care.
yeah. So she has a young boy who's like, they go up to their first android they're going to retrieve, who's like, can my big brother Edward, like, it was Edward, yeah.
Edward,
You
yes.
were about to say Eduardo.
I was about to say Eduardo. My big brother Edward, can he come out? And it's an old couple,
Yeah.
and you can kind of see he was kind of a surrogate son for them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a teary but peaceful goodbye. And there's a little like terminate this program as they put him on the, because their car has a like a pod on the back, or like a capsule for like carrying androids that, and like storing them, which is a really cool design.
Mm.
And that ends peacefully, and it gets explained. It doesn't always go like that.
A lot of times it doesn't go like this at all.
Because I think it is perfectly human nature to get attached to androids, and like we even get attached to like even our non-sentient property. But like when you get to see somebody who's just like you get attached to characters in fiction, but getting attached to an android who is like this person meant to be your companion.
Yeah, it is literally meant to be a person.
Yes.
And you
Designed with all
of your time is spent with them, and they are tailored to what you want them to be. Yeah, you're gonna get attached.
Tailored to be as human as possible, so you don't notice any differences or whatever. And this kind of is what causes them to get outright refused by the next lady they go to. It's like, well, we have a deadline for 5 days for this, and if they're not going to open the door, we have to do this though. We there's no refusal. There's no like failure. That's not an option.
Yeah, I wonder whether it actually goes into what happens if they do fail to get a consent and the android actually starts to break down.
That's probably what's going to happen, but
Yeah,
Maybe that's why the department's already screwed up to begin with, because that already happened.
yeah, that would make sense.
they're obviously saving that though for a bit later, kind of starting with a different sort of tone for their first episode.
Yeah. So they go to another retrieval, which is even worse, really, because they try and bolt from. They have Isla try and do this one, but she can't ring the doorbell because she's scared, which is a little weird because she was supposed to be really good at this job.
Yeah, but at the same time, like they've never seen her out in the field, or at least the other girl has. She's been working for a year, so she's been at least away from this for a year, and also seems to have some sort of mental trauma.
Or maybe you could speculate. So, what's his name? Protagonist has to press the doorbell for her, and they hear rustling and a crash, and it turns out the android and the owner are doing a runner. And Tsundere girl is like, Isla, can you chase after them? She's like, yeah.
I got
Tries
this.
to dive from balcony to balcony across buildings and goes like 2 feet off of the railing and then just down. Like, okay,
Like 5 stories.
they're human, basically. They're a little durable, I guess. Machines. But basically human still. So, it's nice tone setting. Yeah, they're
She
not
falls
super
and just
androids.
destroys the dumpster.
Yep. Pretty good.
And it cuts back to the office. Has got the banana peel on her head. It's like, oh, we got complaints, and now they're gonna cut our funding again. Great. But Tsundere and her partner managed to capture the couple.
And what's his name? Protagonist dude. I keep calling them what's his name protagonist dude every show. It's always what I call them. He gets chewed out by Isla's old partner, who is like I guess she's kind of the supervisor, and the other dude is the manager. I'm not entirely sure though.
Yeah.
But yeah, she chews him out for putting Isla through that. And
She's
Tsundere is
very
like,
overprotective.
yeah, Tsundere is like, I'll tell her it wasn't really your fault what happened, which, you know, it wasn't. She was the one that said, hey, chase after them. So, yay.
Said, wow,
good person.
you're actually being nice. She's like, yeah, I don't want you to quit because that'll make me look bad.
Yeah. Also fair.
So they get, she's like, I'll let you guys do one of my things right now, is to kind of do one on your own. And they get the one with the old lady who won't talk to them.
Yep.
So I was like, I have a plan. Would you like some tea?
She brings tea.
And when that doesn't work, she brings tea and cookies.
Mm-hmm.
Would you like tea with honey? No.
So
How about-
they waste 4 days doing this.
Yep. And then they have a talk. Like, he says, hey, do you remember that time we met before? Which means, yeah, that whole scene is still a thing and important. Yay. And she doesn't really remember.
Yeah.
There was one thing that we missed early on, which was the thing was like, hey, do you have like a manual? And she hands him her diary, basically. Just, yeah.
It's like, this is your diary.
So she's like, don't worry. This time I have a plan. And she's got like a fucking catering set of snacks, and that, yeah, doesn't work.
And she
any better.
climbs the fence.
Yep, she climbs over the fence because they get refused, and it has to happen today. So she climbs over the wall, falls into a herb bush or something. She grows herbs as well.
not
That was
very
a thing
strong.
that was mentioned.
The impression that you get from her at first is that she's supposed to be this strong and silent type character who's dreading apparently the end of her life. I mean, I haven't seen ahead, so that's just what I assume, that she's coming close to the end of her lifespan. But she's just too much of a ditz to really take that too seriously.
Yeah.
That's good writing or not.
Sorry?
I don't know if that's good writing or not.
Well, we'll get into that. Because there's a scene later that we'll get into that. So the little girl android named Nina, which, wait,
We have Nina and Edward in the same episode.
Shut up.
yeah, I was just thinking basically that. Yes,
Edward.
yeah.
No, we're not doing that today.
Someone was inspired.
Because this was sad.
It was. So the old lady comes out and is like, you again, get the hell off my property, you're trespassing. And Nina is like, no, she's like, let her take a shower. It's terrible. And the grandma's like, okay. So she also lets dude in, and he's like,
Got
hey,
way more snacks.
we have to take her today. I know this is not great, but
We have some
Let me-
options.
Let me just look through the options. We've got the 30% discount's not going to work. We can,
Placement discount.
we can after she's been recalled, we can have another one formatted in the same body.
Upgrade the OS.
Yeah, so she'll lose all her memories and everything, but it'll still be the same. And no, she does not appreciate that at all for obvious reasons. Then we have Isla and Nina talking while Nina brushes out Isla's hair. And it's a conversation about how, Nina is an android and is well aware of how this works and how it has to work and that she's at the end of her life. And she knows that if this carries on, it's only going to make the old lady sad as she watches Nina degrade more and more. And she doesn't want the old lady to be sad, and she wants to be able to say goodbye with a smile.
Yeah. Which, was in response to Isla saying, aren't you scared about losing your memories, your personality? Because I am terrified of that.
And the old lady, overhearing this, consents. And she's like, yeah, okay, let's do that.
Make tea for 4 of us.
Mm-hmm. They sit down and have tea and snacks. And there's a conversation that I don't really remember the details of because the next scene was so much more impactful. Holy shit. So they go outside, and before the process of recalling Nina is started, she starts reminding the old lady of all the things she has to do. She has to brush out her hair when she gets out of the shower, and all these other little details that...
Since in the cabinet, second drawer in the kitchen.
Yep.
Make up with your neighbor.
Yep. I cried. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, she proceeded to break down crying as she was saying this, and it was gut-wrenching.
Yep.
Maybe I'm just heartless.
Some people just don't react as strongly. That's fine.
Yeah. It was impactful.
Yeah. So they go through the retrieval process. She goes into the case thing on the truck, and the old lady thanks them as they leave, as protagonist dude tries to apologize that this had to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier in the episode, Isla said nothing about this job is ever going to feel fulfilling. Basically, in the car.
That was a thing that was said. Yes.
Clearly, this is what she was talking about.
And then they're driving back to the office, and Isla admits that she really needs to pee. Like, really, really bad.
She drank a lot of tea.
Yep.
Really use the bathroom and Tsukasa tries to encourage her to hold it in.
Yep.
So it ends on a comical note, but
Just kind of pick you up a little bit after that.
I fucking needed it. My God. Oh.
this may not be the best anime we've seen on this show, but I think it's probably the most tear-jerking of the ones that we've seen thus far.
I don't know. I think it's up there, to be honest. Among the best.
The only ones that I remember being the ones were supposed to be, but didn't completely miss the mark. This didn't. So
this one did a good job. I think it has a very interesting premise in terms of how it's executing that as well. And yeah, I added this to my watch list, so I'm going to be watching this.
I would support it as well, but honestly, this show, it's got a good plot, but it just seems to be just continual bouts of sadness.
I think there's a greater story that will be developing, but
I hope so.
yeah.
I mean, thinking about this show, I wondered honestly why people would want to go with androids like this, just having them as part of your family and knowing that in 10 years you have to part ways with them forever. Then I realized that's really similar, just more of an improvement on pets, isn't
Yep.
it?
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
So,
I mean, like, if you know that the dog's only going to be around for so long, you want companionship, you want a friend.
just make the most of the memories while you've got them. Great, now I'm crying.
And yeah. And in the end, most of the people that we saw in this, we saw an old couple, an old grandma, who both seemed to just want a child or a grandchild. And then we had the couple.
Yep.
Which you can probably imagine why he had.
Yep.
Her.
Yep. And it's still actually kind of sad because he tried to run away with her, though that's actually kind of sad when you think about it. But I would like to once again bring it back to David Cage very briefly, because he wasn't interested in how this sort of thing would actually work. He just wanted it for his allegory. Whereas this delves into the details of how such a scenario might work. Like, degradation of technology is a thing that happens, so this would probably be a thing that happened with androids, should they become a viable technology at some point in the future, in the distant future. And then it still manages to pull off some interesting themes with that. Like, my family has had some, let's say, difficulties with mental degradation of family members in the past.
Yes.
My grandma went through a botched operation, basically, and over the course of about 10 years, her brain shrank to the size of about a pea while she was still alive, gradually losing more and more of herself. And I have had to have a conversation with my mom where she would tell me, I don't want to go through that. I want to end as me, essentially.
Mm-hmm. And in my case, my own grandma had Alzheimer's. So I kind of sympathize with this as well, and the idea of ending as myself. That's a conversation I also had with my mom, and my family. So
yeah, so it's even just by actually focusing on, hey, this is how this might work, you can still bring in some really deep subject matter that breeds discussion and introspection, and I cannot praise a show enough when it manages to do that and do it well. So, like I say, it's up there with the best shows I've seen doing this show.
let's roll another one.
Are we gonna follow that? Fine. All right.
Let's see if we can get something really crappy to make that entire wonderful speech that Casey gave.
Well, just random number generator, we'll see what comes up. I mean, it's not often that we get a gem like this. I mean, it was memorable in a way that most of these shows aren't. The emotions are just... I don't think I've ever been brought to tears on this show before.
Yeah, because most shows that try to do that on as far as anime Reflux goes, once we watch, they suck. They miss the mark, or they don't get it in the first episode.
So. Yeah.
But this show is further proof that there are gems in this mine.
Yeah, a lot of shows that go for that tend to... They go for the melodrama, and hey, this is a big moment where you're supposed to cry. Whereas this one slowly built it up and made it make sense for how powerful it would be when it finally broke you.
It's a case between having something that is a dramatic or sad moment that is character-based versus one that can be seen as more general and more as a human thing that we can connect with easier.
2.
B.
Let's take a look here. 110.
Beyblade. Come on, we need Beyblade.
No, we don't.
We really don't. Though I wouldn't mind something lighthearted like that after this week, to be honest.
Too bad, because you get 80.
80. Perfect. Oh, Casey, would you care to take a guess?
Boba. Boba.
No. You've been watching it lately.
How?
I got
Boku no Hero Academia.
Fucking God. Okay, that's kind of cheating. Because if I was going to bring up another show that did what this show did as well... I mean, okay. Alright.
This is kind of cheating because we went over the early.
we did the
chapters of
manga
this
Reflux for this entire beginning part, and we also did the zero interest thing.
And what about JoJo? We didn't skip JoJo.
Yeah, but we didn't
We,
read the
That is-
manga.
we hadn't reviewed JoJo in any capacity on the channel,
Yeah.
whereas this we've done like 3 times.
Yeah, I'd say let's roll another one, as sorrowful as it is.
Much as I would be okay watching My Hero Academia's first 2 episodes for the 70th time, I think we can safely skip it, I'm afraid.
Fine. Alright. So, take it from B?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Take it from
sure.
me, yeah.
Alright, still go for 110. There are too many to bother.
93.
93, let's see here. Well, this could go either way. This new winner is Brave 10.
Brave 10.
Yeah, I'm getting a Sentai feel from...
Brave 10.
I'll give it.
Brave 10. There we go. Gotcha.
Brave 10.
Yeah.
The story reimagines the legendary adventures of the 10 brave warriors assembled by the warlord Sanada Yukimura in the year 1600, in the middle of Japan's tumultuous Sengoku era.
Okay. Isn't that just the concept for Sengoku Basara? Only
Do you have
without the
any-
mechanical horse?
Do you have any idea how much crap is centered around this era?
Everybody likes it, Sengoku.
I mean, yeah, but it's the same character. Well, historical figure, technically, but it's the same dude.
Yeah. Do you have any idea how many series are circulated around Oda Nobunaga or some other historical figure? That means nothing.
Yes, that's true.
I just Googled it, and what it says here is, where is it? Well, now it's not coming up. Never mind, it's just people seem to have a much higher opinion of Sengoku Basara than Brave 10. Feels like it's been something, but it lacks with character development, so it says.
Okay, I'm looking through the comments, and someone left a lengthy review of how shitty this show is.
Oh,
That doesn't mean
Yay!
anything. Still gotta do it.
This is much better of a choice.
Another review calls it a 7 out of 10 until the last 2 episodes where it goes to absolute shit. So, thankfully we're only doing the first episode.
Moving on to the artwork, I have to say the artwork in Brave 10 is horrible. Yay!
Great. So we're gonna watch this so I can dump on it.
Yeah.
Alright.
So no chance of vetoing this.
Nope.
Won't
Merry,
stay that much longer.
Nope,
I think
Merry
I actually
Christmas.
watched the first episode of this. And then I thought it was crap.
Well, then you're gonna help me.
Okay.
I mean, let's be honest. We've got like 2-3 weeks before we get our vetoes back. So,
Hope you waste yours the first week.
We're gonna waste them all.
wait. So there's, huh?
What is it?
Flame of Recca comes out tomorrow. Whistle comes out on the 26th. That means this episode's coming out on the 2nd. This is technically in January.
I don't care. I don't care.
So does that mean?
No.
Yes.
No.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes. If you really want to veto this, which I think is it'd be really early in for something that probably doesn't deserve it, but if you really
Yeah,
wanted
you
As
know,
to,
soon as possible, push the
Seriously,
veto
waste on
button.
this? I mean, I don't care. I'm just saying it's really stupid.
Yeah, it's not worth a veto. It might be worth a group veto if none of us want to watch it, but no, it's not that bad based on what we see. Then again, I thought Icon wasn't that bad either, so
okay. I
You
mean,
didn't? Did you watch the whole thing? I don't remember.
okay. That still throws me every time Patience says it, because he said it while we were doing the review, and I was like, like it just I tilted my head like a dog that was just told that bones no longer exist. It's like, that's not how the world works. Patient is okay with the really creepy pervy shit. All right, fair enough. That's how we do.
I didn't say I liked it. I said
mean,
it wasn't as bad as I thought
He
it would.
didn't get the allusions to jizz all over the place at the end of that episode, so that's probably part of it. Why are we talking about this? Oh, we're not talking about Icon anymore.
No,
We're burying that show,
yes.
amongst others.
All right,
Okay.
so thanks for listening, everyone. We'll be back next week with Brave Town.
Well, thank you, everybody, for watching, and have a nice time. Don't step in pudding.
Okay.
David Cage is a hack.
Must you?
Yes. Needs saying every time.
Okay.